We love that you're here. My name is Maya Gibbenson, and I'm the president of Colorado Republicans. And, I just want to let you guys know, it's a major privilege to have a member of Congress come. We've had members of the Democratic Party come to Belmont, and, we've always been respectful, so I would hope that you guys would have that same respect. So, yeah, and that's all. So thank you so much.
And I have one brief disclaimer for y'all. Just so you know, by being in this room today, you are consenting to recording, to photos, especially if you want to take the mic, ask the congressman a question. Ms. Mai will be coming around for people to raise their hands. But again, just so you know, by being in this room, you are consenting to audio, visual, recording, photos. If you have reservations with that, you are more than welcome to exit the room. Thank you.
All right, well, welcome everybody. Can you hear me okay in the back? All right, everybody's good? So, this isn't a normal town hall, or it's not quite really a round table given the setting, because we just had another assassination attempt. And so, I figured what we can do is, I'll give you an overview of that in just a moment, but I guess probably the thing to do would be to hear from a sheer topic standpoint. So not questions. We'll get to questions. Everybody will have the opportunity to have questions. And at the conclusion, if we run out of time, I don't even know how much time I have.
10:50, 11.
If it's time to conclude and there's a few questions, I'll try to get to everybody. So I'm not going to rush out of here. But there's a lot of things we could cover. So there's Israel, there's Ukraine, there's Iran, there's Islam, there's the rhetoric coming from some factions within politics. One word. What do you want to talk about? Anybody want to raise your hand? What do you want to hear?
I think it's best that we speak about your opinions first.
So what?
I think it's best that we speak about your opinions in regards to Islam.
So you're Europe, okay?
We're here to hear you.
Yes, ma'am.
The research that guides policy decisions.
Policy, okay? That's a good question. Yeah. What else? There's a lot going on in the world. Yes, sir.
Diversity, equity, and inclusion.
DEI, okay.
You.
Not me? Okay. Yes, sir.
Campaign financing transparency.
Yeah, that's a good one. And I've been through that, and that's a good topic to discuss. Yes, sir.
Your stand on Israel and foreign policy.
Okay, foreign policy. Interesting enough, remind me if I don't get to it, I was in Israel right as the war was beginning, and there's a reason for that. A lot of the, and again, remind me, we'll go into this in greater detail. A lot of the weapon systems that we use here in the U.S. to defend and protect the homeland are actually developed jointly with Israel. And so I've gone there twice now to tour those facilities to see the developments taking place, again, protecting America. Yes, sir.
In extension of that, the war in Iran.
Yep. There's a lot to unpack there. Why don't we, we'll pause there for just a second. And I'm going to touch first on what happened Saturday night. And then, because it's so front of mind, and there you can segue to the economy, you can segue into Israel. There's a whole national security component to that. I'll shift to Iran. I'll try to be efficient in those topics so that we can pause. We can take questions on those two things and try to put a pin in it, and then we can move to the next set of topics, if that makes sense. If that's okay? Is that okay with everybody? All right. And so, like, if we move to Ukraine, we'll talk about Ukraine. We'll take a few questions, but that way we shift to another topic and we're coming back and forth. That way we move the dialogue on kind of in a successive, logical way. So Saturday night, the event. So let me back up. So I've been with the president a lot. So I'm on financial services, which is banking. It's effectively the nerd committee. It's not a very exciting committee, but it has a lot to do with the economy, the regulatory regime, banking, stock market, interest rates. But there's a lot of barriers with that regulatory regime. At the time when I first got on that committee, that's considered an A committee. So you have A, B, and C committees in Congress. So A are typically the ones that deal with the economy or money. As a freshman, got onto that committee. I previously worked for Dr. Laffer Center for Economics. So anyway, and then I'm also on Homeland. Then I'm the chairman of Cyber and AI. So you have the Joint Chiefs. They get a daily briefing, classified briefing, that they take all that information, then they distill and report that to the president. I also receive that briefing. So I get classified information that most members of Congress do not get unless you're on the Intel Committee or on a chairman of one of those other armed services, foreign affairs, that type of thing. So it's Saturday night, we're walking into the perimeter. And it's typical, it's a large event, so streets are being shut down. You have to show your ticket to get into that first perimeter. I have on my member pin, so the Secret Service recognizes me, so I would be moved around some of the layers of security just because I'm a known quantity. You know, I've been to the Oval Office, I've been to the White House multiple times, I've been with the president, I was on Air Force One with him just recently. But there were layers of security, but it was more relaxed, arguably, than it has been historically. So why? You can always do an after-action report and figure out things should have been done differently. And there's going to be a lot of that. But it was a known audience. So everybody in the room was a journalist, right? If you're getting your credentials, there's some degree of vetting. Then also, everyone else in the room is either someone like myself, so a member of Congress. There's not a lot of members were there. The speaker, leadership, I was there, or they're a guest of a journalist. So that, again, you invite me to some town hall, there's a degree of we know each other and you're vouching for me. So again, it was a lower risk type event in a venue versus say Belmont, Pennsylvania, which was in the middle of a field and you can't necessarily vet the attendance. And so that's why you see the bubble surrounding the president was smaller because of the type of venue and the known idea of the quantity of folks that were in the room. So, presentation of the colors, national anthem, pledge, all those sorts of things. Introductions, it's kind of going normally. Caesar salad, it was actually quite good. They had patriotic wine. I mean, it was just a normal banquet. And it's great for the media, the White House Correspondents' Dinner, to have the president there because it's access to, so before the event started, I mean, and it was elbow to elbow. When I say the room was tight, this row in particular, you see how little room there is between the chairs and the tables, it was tighter than that. So there's a pop, pop, pop. Now, my midlife crisis, I spent a couple of years as a reserve deputy with Williamson County. I spent a lot of time on the firing range. I've gone on calls, I've heard gunshots. I knew what that sound was, but still, logic kicks in and says, there shouldn't be a shooter here, right? You're surrounded by Secret Service and FBI. There's a pause, pop, pop, pop. It happens again. At that point, the room recognizes something is wrong. You start seeing movement in the back. When I say the back, up on stage. I stand up, people start getting under tables. Now I have the advantage, because I was kind of on the wing, there's a column here that I could take cover. Most of the room could not. So there was some columns around the room. So I had a strategic vantage point. So I stood, because I wanted to know, the cop in me kicked in of, where's the shooter? And about that time, so if this is the front of the room, the president's behind me. It's filled. It is wall-to-wall people, secretaries. You talk about continuity in government. You got the president, the vice president, the speaker, the majority leader, the whip, the entire chain, with the exception of the Democratic leader on the other in the Senate. You have members of Congress, enough members of Congress from the Republican Party that if there had been a catastrophic event, it would have changed who was in control of government. So it was a big target. But from that corner, you had two columns of Secret Service agents and FBI. I mean, a flood come into the room, single file, two columns. Now here's the problem. if I'm protecting you, you're the principal, right? I've got to get to you. The problem is I've got 10 tables and 60 people in the way. So that's why if you look at some of the photographs, you see them on top of the tables, literally going from, it might be easier for me to step table to table and come around than it would be to try to mingle. Now, as people are collapsing under, hiding under the tables, the path starts getting clear. At that point, Tom Emmer is majority whip. He has had to have surgery on his leg, and they literally, and he's a big guy, like this gentleman over here. He's a big fella, right? Pick him up, and they're carrying him out of the room, right? Now, if there is an active shooter in this room, and you want to survive, what do you need to figure out? Where's the shooter, and what is the safest egress out? And so the Secret Service came from that direction. They also carried the whip out that direction. Because if you had seen them come from this direction, right, but they go that way, there's your safe corridor. Because there could be something happening back behind there, because I'm not on comms. We're not on comms. You don't know what's going on out there. Even during the reporting, there's that fog of war where some were saying that the shooter was dead, he was down, the questions of whether multiple shooters. So all that to say is, so I followed them out, and I figured logically there would be lots of Secret Service with machine guns, so I'm out there with them. And about that time, the bubble comes out, I'm put in the bubble, and then standard procedure kicks in. So the vice president goes one direction, the president goes another direction, your cabinet members, myself and some other members are in a bubble. The speaker, who's in that continuity of government column, he's going to another direction. They put that room that I just came from, where I was talking to some of you folks, the leadership of the GOP here, he was stuffed into a room. So all of this is designed that if the event gets worse, that the government continues to operate. At that point, we exited the building, we second, and we went our way, went to the Capitol, which is a secure area. And even then, so you have Capitol Police in the venue. And so we asked the officers there at the guarded gate, like, have you heard anything? And so in those first few minutes, there's so much happening and so much chatter, kind of cross-population of information, they didn't even know what was going on. And then obviously, hindsight, we got it. So that's what happened, and that's significant. I mean, and some of the rhetoric that you know, I stirred the pot. You all know I stirred the pot. That's why some of you got this stuff up, right? That's fine. But also, you're welcome to be here. Like, let's talk, let's have a conversation. Let's disagree. That's a great thing about our country. But, you know, there were no assassination attempts on Biden or Obama. Right? Multiple against President Trump. And so, Charlie Kirk, you can murmur all you want.
Sir, there was an assassination attempt on Obama.
Not a real one. Someone took a shot and hit Obama. Negative. Someone killed Charlie Kirk. No one got close enough to Obama to actually get it done, which is a good thing. By the way, I never spent any time with Obama, clarity sake. But, you know, President Biden, I was with him several times. And, you know, even though I don't particularly like the president, the former president, always respectful, because he was the commander-in-chief. So when he would come to the House and he would give his joint address, you know, because of where I sit, which is kind of in the aisle seat, you know, I'm literally, I'm either the first or second person he would talk to, and we would always have a pleasant conversation. And I typically would ask him a question on policy, typically immigration. One of the joint statements that he gave to the Congress. We're not doing questions just yet, so stand by. I got you. I asked him about Lake and Riley. Like, what are we going to do to protect the Lake and Rileys, especially on our college campuses? And then he goes about and gets this. So that being said, we've got to tone down the dialogue. That was the point of that. So Obama, it makes my blood pressure go up, but I wish him no harm. Period. Hands down. Biden, Obama, Kamala, I wish them the best. Say what?
Kamala.
All right. Kamala. I'm from the South. I'm sorry. Kamala. Wish her no harm. No disrespect, right? So, now let's go to Iran. So why Iran? Why now? Any question, any ideas? Why Maduro? Why now?
I have no idea.
And actually, that's a valid point. Ongoing, and I do think that you'll see it vary on the near term in the coming weeks. So let's talk about what's going on in Iran. Iran is the #1 exporter of global terror in the world. You even see why, even in the Middle East, we have support for some of our allies, is because Iran has exported terror to the Emirates and to the UAE, and so they want their societies to be safe as well. Why? So, but there's a direct connection between Maduro and Iran. So Iran was taking Hezbollah terrorists. They were going to Venezuela. The regime was giving them fake IDs, and they were coming to the United States to the southern border. So we just caught, it's no longer classified, an Iranian army sniper in Alabama. And there's others, so there's literal terror cells that are under surveillance that we watch because we're trying to, or I say we, the government is watching, to try to unravel if they're part of a larger network to commit harm here in this country. And it's significant that this individual was in Alabama because he wasn't in Birmingham or Huntsville, he was in a small town in America. And that is, and the point of that is there are so many of these known terrorists. So I'm not talking about a cousin of a friend. I'm talking about someone who was in their army, who was trained by Hezbollah, who is an actual terrorist, who have committed various types of crimes, are now in this country for the purposes of committing genocide. And again, when we found him, he had all of the things that one would have to commit terror. So Maduro served two purposes. Was to shut down that pipeline of people that we had caught now coming into the country. It also put on display for the world some of the capabilities that we had, militarily speaking, that otherwise were not known. So you've heard of the Cuban syndrome, the sonic weapons. We used that during that raid. It was quite successful. One of our troops, special forces, was injured. He was actually a pilot who was shot in the leg twice, I think, only to that. But he continued, instead of peeling off, which would essentially been standard protocol, he landed, I said plane, helicopter. He landed the helicopter and completed the mission because he was dedicated. I mean, moments matter, lives are at risk. Maduro was pulled out. There's also a secondary reason why now with China, and that is China has been buying oil on the black market from Iran and Venezuela. They get steep discounts. They're now having to buy, so the United States right now, we control either directly or indirectly about 80% of the supply chain for oil. And so China is now having to buy oil on the open market. And that is, there's a direct correlation there. There's a lot going on with Taiwan and some of the things they're doing in Ukraine. So it's a complex picture. To your point, I think that needs to be distilled down in very concise talking points, so the American people understand why. I mean, I don't want any troops deployed overseas. I don't want to be involved in another war. Quite a slight tangential thing with Ukraine. So I voted against all the supplementals for Ukraine. You can make a case for Ukraine, or again, so the case for would be Ukraine, they gave up their nukes. We had US, France, a couple other countries. We agreed that we would protect them from Russia if they were willing to give up their nukes. They didn't have the expertise to maintain them nor protect them. So there's one could make a moral argument why we might be involved. But that being said, I would make the argument that it's more of a European issue to protect and secure that region, especially at a time when we have so much debt, right? And we can talk about veteran suicides are still 22 a day. We have kids that don't have textbooks. Like there's things that I would argue that we should spend here at home first versus in another war. Now, the Ukraine war, desperation begets innovation, and the Ukraine war has really changed the battlefield as we go forward. So you can see the drones. And that really takes us to Israel and some of the developments in drone technology and the things that are being developed with automated systems is extraordinary but it's also what keeps us safe. So our own, which you would call Golden Dome. Now, you know, China has the largest navy in the world, but they've never been in a battle. It's never been tested. Our military, we're the dominant predator across all landscapes: cyber, air, land, sea. If you don't, you need to do a little reading if you don't think that's the case.
I'm sorry, man. We haven't won a war since World War II.
What I can tell you is you're safe at night. You can have your opinions, which are arguably, I assume, different than mine, because of that same military that is willing to die for you. And so you might want to show them a bit of respect. And if not, you're willing to leave, or welcome to leave. Now, but as we go forward, the biggest arms race that we're facing is in the cyber domain. So when I first got involved with cyber, it was more out of curiosity and AI. If you think back a year and a half ago to chat or Grok, they were essentially search engines on steroids. I mean, but how quickly that has developed. And so China is in this race for compute power, right? Because whoever gets the quantum first wins, quite frankly. All the compute power right now is largely based off of US technology. China is trying to catch up. And then of course, the complexity of the agents. So, like I said, I'm chairman of cyber. I work a lot with the Counterterrorism Institute. So I actually used an unfiltered, jailbroken AI. It's something that the highest levels of government might use. And what's scary, and quite frankly, you can get copies of this out there on the web, is I had it build me a bomb. It gave me an ingredients list. It told me where I could buy it. I then said, what's the best vehicle for transporting that device? It told me what type of van to use, how much fertilizer and diesel fuel I can pack in it, and then said, well, I don't want to die. Tell me how to build a remote detonation device. Step-by-step directions. It told me where to buy the components I would need off the shelf. It gave me the blast radius. It told me what did I need to do to escape. So I was looking at it through the Homeland Security and counterterrorism lens, but that same compute power that is in some of these AI models that have now been developed can also be used. So one of the prompts was, tell me how to get a 13-year-old child who's on social media, how to commit an act of violence in their school. And it gave me specific directions based off of the platform they were using. So if they were in this game, this chat room, this type of game, the likelihood of their personality, and it broke it down by week. What I should be saying to them chat-wise, gaining trust and convincing them to commit an act of violence. That same technology can be used to create deep fakes of all of you doing horrible things that you would otherwise never do. So part of my role as the chairman of cyber is to figure out how do we win this arms race. So if you think to the Cold War before your time with Russia, there was a Cold War over nuclear weapons. But there was a point of détente, threat of mutual destruction. We all had enough nuclear weapons to blow up the world 10 times over, 100 times over, it didn't matter. Then it became about delivery systems. Who can do it the fastest? Is it 8 minutes? Is it 10 minutes? Is it 12 minutes? It still was just minutes, right? And so you hit the kind of this ceiling or this horizon in this arms race. With cyber and AI, there is no horizon. And as much classified information as I get, I still can't fully articulate what does tomorrow look like? Because it is developing so quickly, and so, excuse me, literally in touch with Anthropic, literally in touch with the various CEOs of these companies to talk about what is their vision. But ultimately, you all we want this technologies, these capabilities out in our communities, but how do we do it in a safe way? Because some of it is dangerous. So there's a very positive, so I've seen some of the research where AI can distill quantums, volumes of data and create new drugs computing wise that now can be tested that would have taken years to do otherwise. I mean, that's gonna be transformative for cancer and Alzheimer's, but that same compute power can be used against anyone of you for blackmail. And so, how do we do that safely? To be determined. I think ultimately it's about protecting your privacy. So you're right, your image, sir, is yours. And so it can't be used in Grok or chat or Claude or anything else. Man, your words, your speech. You can take about 2 minutes worth of speech or conversation. You can put that in the again, these jailbroken AIs, and I could take that and create an entire lecture from just about 2 minutes of dialogue. That's how powerful it is at this point. So I'll pause there. I'll just start here and go back. Any questions on this one? Oh, this way. Sir, you had your hand up? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Real
on
quick, stand up.
And then I'll take a question from the next row, question from the next row, and we'll just kind of do, that way it's distributed, right? Sure, I'll get to you next, you'll be my next. Sir.
yeah, hey, how's it going? My name is G. I'm a student at Belmont. I just want to talk about your comment on AI. So you claim that these terrorists are using these jailbroken AI sort of websites or applications. Do you think that Palantir is also a form of a jailbroken AI? Something that the Israeli government uses to basically kill off children with the use of AI recognition for this application. Do you think that's something that's also are you willing to talk about, morally speaking?
So Palantir, so they do a lot of data back end. So they work with the federal government. I have spoken not to the CEO, but the IT folks within Palantir. They certainly would have jailbroken or much more powerful types of AI. And so again, that's the question of how do we prevent, it's like a weapon of mass destruction. There's certain things that should not be in the public domain, and I say that as a very strong 2A, individual. But a computer or a software that could literally make horrible deep fakes of anyone in this room, could make you look like giving a horrible speech, right? Like, what do we do about that? And that's a tough conversation because there's Fourth Amendment privacy, there's First Amendment freedom of speech, and all this other stuff. It's like, so how do we navigate this? It's tough going forward. As far as Palantir killing children, I don't know that there's any evidence of that anywhere. If there is, I'd be happy to look at it. But I mean, cite a source. Like, give me something specific, right?
I mean, I've got you. Well,
Because look, there's lots of rumors and conspiracy theories on both sides, right? But if you're gonna make the claim, give me something specific so I can look into it.
okay, so
Right.
you can search up Palantir's AI recognition software, where basically, like you mentioned, these jailbreak applications are able to create deepfakes. But this is a sort of different type of function that Palantir.
But how is
they use an AI
facial recognition killing people? I mean, Europe has been using facial recognition for a decade.
Okay, so they use AI recognition software to say basically recognize, hey, is this a terrorist, or hey, is this a civilian, this, that, the third. The problem with this sort of software is that there's bugs, and these sort of bugs can kill a civilian or kill a baby walking with their mother, all these sort of, you don't think that's something to be concerned about as a
Absolutely.
U.S.
But now,
representative?
again, you still haven't cited a specific source of where that's occurring. Now, what I can tell you,
You can do your own research into that.
no. You stood up and made a claim. You stood up and made a claim. So if
I
I'm
made
gonna
a
talk,
claim.
hold
I
on.
made
Have a seat. You're done.
Okay.
Whoa.
I'm gonna be call you out on
No.
this. You don't want to
Get on your phone and find me a specific.
You don't want to take the time to research yourself, sir.
Find a specific.
Okay.
You raised the claim. So if I'm gonna talk about.
I raised the
hold on.
claim.
If I'm gonna talk about
You
the
agree
crimes
on-
committed by migrants in Europe, I'm gonna cite sources.
You agreed to taking the burden of burden of proof to go and research it yourself.
When I told you, you made a claim.
Okay.
Now prove it. Or give me,
You're asking me to
give me.
prove it.
That's right.
And I'm
You're buying into a
setting where I'm not
conspiracy
gonna be able
theory.
to project it on the screen. Sir?
Give me something, like, I'll take it back to my team. I will absolutely do it, right?
That's fine. I got you.
I mean, 100%. Now, and
I mean, Google is a free utilization source. Like, we can always utilize it.
I agree.
You
You're
search
the
for AI
one
recognition, power
that
zero.
raised the claim.
Okay, that's
So
fine.
if you're gonna cite it in a paper,
You have
hold on a
board
minute,
and you can
if
cite
you were
on
turning
it.
in a paper to a professor this
You're
year,
killing time, bro.
and you're gonna make that claim.
Next question.
You're gonna make that
Next
claim,
question.
you're gonna have to cite it.
Next
All
question.
right.
Next
All
question.
right.
Hey, we're done, be quiet.
So I'm gonna go to the next
Right?
question.
Be quiet.
Congressman Ogles, can I just pop in with a yes/no question, because it totally relates to the question I mentioned earlier, right? So we stress critical thinking at Belmont, and no matter what discipline you're in, from architecture to wellness, we recognize that research is critical. My students would absolutely fail papers that have no citations. So I absolutely love that you're asking for references. My question is, yes or no, would you please start including research links that you're using for policy decisions so that we can become better informed, right?
Sure.
We don't want policy based on ideology, that's just opinion, right? So would you consider maybe as a pinned comment to your, I follow you on Instagram, but anywhere else in your email communications?
No, I think, no, absolutely, I think that's a great point to this young man's point, is, again, if you're gonna write a paper, and this is a room of, your college students, academia, you're gonna make the claim, again, let's have that challenge environment, but then cite the sources, right? So,
Would you be willing to cite your sources?
I'm gonna get that, yes, ma'am.
Just as
Yeah.
a new.
So I'm asking
that's
for your
wonderful.
I'm gonna get that from you, hold on, yeah, I'm gonna get that from you, and I'm gonna take that back with you, all right?
Thank you.
As I should. So, we're gonna, our dialogue, right? Contentious. That's not a bad thing. John
It
Quincy
doesn't need
Adams.
to be contentious, though. You
Hold on.
didn't need to.
No.
y'all.
But you're telling me, like, I've got 50, 60 people in the room, right? And everybody makes a claim, and there's an issue of bandwidth. You want me to go research all these claims. Bring me something, point me in a direction, right? Great, and before I leave, we'll get that from you, and I'll take it back and we'll do the research, and we'll see if there's any truth to it. And if there is, I'll bring it before Congress. All right? So, Jared Moskowitz, Democrat. All right? Government shutdown. So they've told us to stop doing town halls, not do fundraisers and things like that because of optics. He goes to his son's baseball game. He's running the school board, right? I think we can all agree that's a good thing. But he was being criticized for trying to be a good dad, right? And so even though Jared and I may not agree on hardly anything, I was one of the first people that came to his defense and said, he's at a ball game with his son, and that's a bad thing in this country. Like, so if you find me something, and there's some truth to it, I'll pursue it to its end. I don't care where it leads. Period. John Quincy Adams. It's the people's house. It's where you argue and debate. That's where you bring your different opinion that you have on whatever issue, and we talk about it. And if you have something, right, if you have evidence or something that you want me to investigate, then that's what we'll do, right? So, I told you, ma'am, I would come to you next.
Okay, hi, my name is Grace. So it's my understanding that we're here in a kind of good faith dialogue. Do you believe that it's fair that you're asking him to cite his sources when you've been making claims and not citing your own?
What claim would you like me to cite?
I'm just referring to, that got very heated.
Yeah, hold on.
You were,
He raised
I can
a
finish what I'm saying.
specific point.
Please let me finish what I'm saying.
Specific point, I simply asked him to point me in the right direction so we could discuss it.
You're not letting me finish my
Hold on a
statement.
minute. So now you said, I'm not citing sources. What source would you like me to cite?
Anything that you had in that dialogue with him, you were saying things and you were not citing his sources, your sources, and you were asking that he cite his. That is not a good faith dialogue.
But what point or accusation did I make that would need a citation?
Refuting his claim.
You were refuting his claim.
All I said is I have not seen evidence that that's occurred. I'm not saying it is or is not true. But
Can I see
give
the
me,
evidence of the child burials?
give me something to follow. I'm happy to follow that trend.
Do you believe that you're engaging in a good faith dialogue with him right now?
Absolutely. Give me something, again, if there's a citation that you want, tell me specifically so I can provide it for you.
That's not what I'm looking to do here. I'm saying that you got in here and you are raising your voice at a constituent in a student town hall. Do you believe that that is a good faith dialogue with your constituents?
Again, I asked a simple question he was unwilling to respond to. And again, I'll ask you the same question. Is there a specific citation that you need that either I've put online that you would like? I will gladly get that to you. If some of the crime data out of Europe, that's all of that, and it's why I use data, because it's not mine, I don't own it. So the crime statistics in London come from the London Metropolitan Police. The crime data out of Sweden comes from their interior ministry. Rome comes from the Rome police. I'm citing the source, and when we put that out online. Now, if we need to do it better or further, happy to do it. Palantir, I can tell you, they have technology. It is used, especially with drones, in trying to identify terrorists. I've not seen or heard it being used against children or women. If it has been, point me in the right direction and we'll take a look at it. But I need something to follow, right? But again, citation.
Do you come to a dialogue with a works cited page?
I actually do have citations.
Okay, I would love to see some of that, but that's not my question. I would like an answer to my question. Do you believe you were engaging in a good faith dialogue?
I think this will be the third time that I've said I think it was a good faith, because I've given him the opportunity to not only we had the dialogue, but to follow up. I'll even call him. Right? Like, we'll continue this.
No, that's what I
All
wanted
right?
to know. Thank
Like,
you
if
very
you've got a
much.
citation, I'm gonna wanna know how to get back in touch with you.
Thank
Like,
you.
what else did you
I
find?
look forward to hearing
Right?
about that.
I'll give you
Right,
my
you know what I'm
number.
saying? Like, let's do this,
I got you.
right? But I came with citations.
Okay,
Right? I'm not speaking from a script.
next
But if
question,
you wanna talk about
please.
crime data, I've got it here for you, right? And I'll cite the source, right? So I went to this row. Oh, just a minute.
First of all, I just want to say thank you, Congressman Ogles, for coming, because this is a huge deal, and very brave of you to come in straight to a college campus and directly take questions from students, so we just want to thank you for being here. I just had a question. I just wanted to know, what is your favorite piece of legislation that you've had a hand in passing recently that you're most excited about?
Actually, that's important. So 1965, Part 7. How many people think the immigration system in this country is broken? Right?
Absolutely. It's not doing great right now, is
Right?
it?
It's broken. 1965, Part Seller is the construct on which current immigration is built. And so regardless of wherever you fall on the immigration conversation, you have to understand is that foundation it's built upon is 1965. I mean, 60 years old. It's outdated. It's set up to fail. And so you have people that want to come here to this country, and it takes 10 years and tens of thousands of dollars, right? It's broken. So again, regardless of what you think about H-1B visas, that's been turned into a big money scam, so that needs reform. So whether you think we should have it or not, that still doesn't get to the heart of the question, is that the H-1B visa program is broken. And so people that should be able to use it can't, because it has just turned into something else. Same thing with the chain migration. So there's all of these things. We haven't had major immigration reform in 60 years. And so I have a series of bills that address it. So one of them is vetting. Again, regardless of wherever you're at on immigration, I think it's a logical step to simply vet the peoples or persons that are coming here, right? Like, who are they? So if I wanted to go to the UAE and I want to get a job, they do a vetting for me, or of me. I have to show that I have a job or can get a job. And so essentially you have a work sponsor. I can never vote. I cannot become a citizen of that country. And if I violate their laws, after I do whatever jail time that might be appropriate, I would be deported and essentially banned from the country. That's just one example. That's the way Most of the world does it in some form or fashion. And so simply getting our immigration more aligned with that. And prior to 1965, there was a whole quota system, so again, it created, quite frankly, more diversity from the various nations who could come here or send migrants here, versus having one or two countries dominate kind of that flow and getting preferential status. And so, to answer your question, it is an overhaul of immigration, creating more transparency in the process, clearer on how you get here, streamlining the process, and again, by having that normal vetting procedures, that takes care of most of the issues that you might have, whether you're on the left or on the right. Because again, it's just simply setting up a construct, like the justice system. The justice system should be blind. It doesn't matter if you're black, white, brown, conservative or liberal, Christian, Jew, Arab, doesn't matter, Muslim, it should be blind, right? There shouldn't be a targeting from the Justice Department. No, it's a thing. There's an issue there where the politics has, again, left and right, has steeped or seeped in to the Justice Department. We need to get that out, right? Go ahead.
Thank you so much. Would you like to stand? I understand why I understand. It's just for her. She's the one that's asking. I don't mind that. Thank you so much, Maya, and thank you so much for coming here. I really do appreciate you. I think a lot of people here blindly overlook what you are doing. I know there was an assassination attempt, or on Saturday, so you are coming here in good faith. And for that, I do apologize because pluralism is a lie. And I am a Muslim. So I do apologize in advance. But the actual thing that I do want to speak about is the citations that you were referencing. He made a very good point, and you also made very good points countering it. You recently went in February 13th of 2025 with your spouse Monica to Israel. You went with the IEIF to look at these things that Palantir has done. Some of the things that you touched up on were the red wolf, blue wolf system that Israel started in 2022. And that's something I wanted to touch up on because as Americans, we are all dealing with that today. ICE is using the red wolf, blue wolf system incorrectly. Another citation that you pondered on him for was the most recent strike in Iran, killing 183 girls. This was another mistake that Palantir did. It was 183 or 163 girls, I'm not sure, but what makes 20 dead children? It's not that big of a deal, womp womp. My point that I'm trying to make is, you touch up on these things, and I admire you for them. You speak highly about them, and things need to change. But again, the 183 schoolgirls are not our 183 schoolgirls, so let's touch up on ICE and what's going on here. The red wolf and blue wolf system is incorrectly being used by Palantir, by Israel. They're being tested on Palestinians in Gaza, in the West Bank, in Tel Aviv.
Question?
Yes, sir. The question that I'm making to you is, you highly speak about how you're trying to make change. You speak about how deep change is going on, deep fakes are scary, and I can have a very ugly speech with just 2 minutes of me speaking. I agree. It's a very, very scary thing. So knowing all these things and going on these, trips being paid for by AIPAC with your wife Monica to Israel, what have you done in the past few years to change it? Because frankly, what we've seen in Iran hasn't changed. What we've seen in Minnesota, it hasn't changed. As a Muslim who doesn't believe in pluralism because pluralism is a lie, I'm a bit scared that I will be targeted, or worse, that you will be targeted, or her, or the young men and women in this classroom will be targeted falsely. We have seen Palantir go back and back, and again, there's citation after citation. They've been falling short. So what have we been doing, Congressman? What have we been doing? I'm scared, man.
So as far as facial recognition being deployed, to your point,
yes,
I think congressional oversight is regardless of administration. Trump, Biden, Harris, I won't say her name wrong. No disrespect to her. But because I think to your point and what you're alluding to is in the wrong hands it can become dangerous. And I was someone who was very much to your point. So I had articles of impeachment against Biden and Harris. Just a few weeks later, they took my cell phone. We saw where the Biden DOJ had 2 covert operations against members of Congress. Again, I would not be okay if Trump were doing it, or Vance, or Harris, or Obama, or Biden, or take a pick, right? You have something in the Constitution called speech and debate, right? It's a clause that separates the executive branch cannot spy on the legislative branch or the judicial branch. You have three distinct siloed powers, right? Separate branches. You've had historically the executive branch spying on people, targeting people. So there was the Rayburn case, right? That was in Washington, D.C. Rayburn is a building. And the Supreme Court upheld the speech and debate clause, that the executive branch could not spy on or target its adversaries in the legislative branch. Then you saw with Congressman Perry's phone, they took his phone. Again, Supreme Court upheld speech and debate clause. So when you have a DOJ, regardless of administration, that's violating a principle within the U.S. Constitution, that's been upheld by 2 Supreme Court rulings. And they're doing it to members of Congress.
There's not much you can do, is what you're saying?
If they can take my phone, imagine what they can do to you.
Oh, I agree with you. I'm
Right?
full aware of this.
And so
without
I am,
deflecting
to
a
your
different
point.
administration. Please,
Yeah,
to my point.
to your
please.
point,
Please.
targeting you because of your faith, I have a problem with that. Right?
Oh, I appreciate that.
Right.
Have we
Now
done
that being said, talking about Islam, and I've been very vocal.
Without going on to a different topic, sir,
Yeah.
we are speaking about the exact thing that Najib was. I'm not talking about Islam or pluralism, although it's false to a lot of
But the-
But my point that I'm trying to make, without deflecting onto a different administration, you know, Trump has been in office for some time now. Have you and the Trump administration and or Palantir that the United States government has been working hand in hand with, have we as an American people done anything to change that? Yes, you are a victim of this, as am I, as is everyone in this
Hold on, hold
classroom.
on. But to your question, the Palantir, right?
Yeah.
Like if so this is the so I'm not deflecting, but this is the complexity of the issue with AI and the recognition software. So if AI can be used, like so this is a question. If AI can be used to prevent you from being pulled over or targeted, would you be okay with that? Right? So if they're using, or if it can be properly used.
I wouldn't because AI has been continuously wrong with their statements. As we saw with the
again,
183
this
girls.
is the
My
dance that I
friend
have.
a week ago actually got killed in Hebron. Hebron is an area A of the West Bank. This is an area in which you have been to. You, alongside your people that have been paid by AIPAC, I believe as of 2025, it was Yes. $73,000 you got from AIPAC. But that's another conversation.
Hold on.
You haven't. We're not going anywhere.
I was just
3 months of my salary
for
Beautiful.
AIPAC. To correct the record, I was not there with AIPAC.
Yeah, you were there with AIEF, the American Israeli Education Foundation.
So just-
And you went with Palantir, and you went to Area A. And how does Shaggy know this? Because Shaggy is clearly not a conspiracy theorist, as we all are. Shaggy knows this because you published this on Twitter. So my point is, without deflecting, Mr. Ogles, as you say you're not doing, I understand, and I praise you for being here. You're speaking about things that must be spoken about. Thank you. Seriously, thank you. But nothing has been done.
So
what
what
are
would
we
you
doing?
suggest? So I'm a member of Congress.
Yes, you
right?
are.
So I'm on the
And you praise
subcommittee,
Palantir.
primarily the lens for AI and the software that you're speaking of. I look through, my job is through Homeland Security. So if you're helping me craft a piece of legislation, because you also have the Fourth Amendment, and that's the issue with, everybody understand the Fourth Amendment, right? Like your right to privacy. So I'm making a point here for you, is if you have trash in your dorm, well, not necessarily your dorm, in your home, right? You have trash inside your house, in your kitchen. The police cannot look into it.
But the police look at it.
Right?
Don't
interrupt.
I'll let you speak.
If it's in your home, they're not getting in unless they have probable cause or warrant. That's the point, right? Fourth
Right,
Amendment.
that's the goal.
So it's in your house. Even if you put that same trash outside your home in a trash bin, but it's on your property, you still have a right to privacy. The moment you put it on the curb, now it's in the public domain, and the Fourth Amendment may no longer apply. apply. The issue we all have and we face, again, going back to your point and some of the technologies that are being developed, is that they can now see into, hypothetically, into your kitchen trash because it's all online. So how do we protect that? Right, exactly. So again, this is a forum. I'm on a committee of jurisdiction, and I'm inviting you and anyone in this room from your perspective, whether you're my constituent or not, because we're not in my district, right? But if you have an idea on how we can do that safely from a student's perspective, like you're online more than I am, right? You're in a world, your world going forward almost exclusively will be online. Your children's world will all be online. So that is the challenge that I have protecting your Fourth Amendment right. And I have a bias because they got a warrant in violation of the Constitution, were able to take my phone. I now have firsthand experience of the violation of the Constitution against me. So I'm very sensitive if they're violating your constitutional rights.
They're violating our constitutional rights.
That's right.
Our. All of ours.
So again, before, and again, this is open dialogue. Obviously, won't be all the questions. That being said, if you will send me a question, all right, I'll respond. I will respond in writing so that whatever the answer is, whether you agree with it or don't, you can publish it or use it to your own end. And to the ladies, ma'am, I didn't catch your name, to the ladies' point in the back of the room, like I would do for a paper, if I'm making a presentation, where applicable, we'll cite sources for you, so you can go look for yourself. All right? That also starts a dialogue. So you send me a question, I respond, all right? I would then invite you to respond back if it's your main. Back to the room, yes, ma'am?
Belmont University's teachers feel in deception. So my question is, how do you feel about the university now, and why did you decide to come and speak with us after?
So back on January 2025, the president had an executive order. It was 14173, so 14173, I think, or maybe it was 1473. Anyway, January 25. As it pertains to DEI, as hiring, scholarships, etc., should be merit-based. Most institutions immediately comply. Some obviously ask questions of what does this mean. Some were a little more resistant. Belmont was one of those. I will compliment Belmont in that they worked with the administration to change some of those policies. That was the point of calling them out. What I can say about Vanderbilt and David Lipscomb is immediately they were like, hey, what do we need to do to fix this? So again, true, real story. DC is about an hour ahead. And so it would have been, 10:30 here, 11:30 your night. My phone rings, and it was someone from Vanderbilt. Of course, I think, why is Vanderbilt calling me in the middle of the night? But there was a professor who put out a video that they expected to go viral, and they literally just reached out to say, hey, we're going to investigate this, but we want to be proactive and work with the administration. And so I appreciated that. The video did go viral. I think that professor was put on, at least on a temporary administrative leave, so they could sort it out. The video was taken down. My understanding is the professor's still there. But again, there was this, if a school, college or university is receiving federal funds, for better or worse, it comes with strings attached, and the president has said it's got to be merit-based, whether you agree with that or not, but he's the chief executive officer. But Belmont, I would say, is doing its best to comply with that. Your medical school is fantastic. I mean, what that does for this campus and what it does for Greater Nashville. So I love the three universities, or there's more than that, but you know, the three right here in this corridor. But TSU, Meharry, all of them. I mean, Nashville's unique in the fact that we have such a center for learning. You've got two medical schools in the city, or three with Meharry.